The only God is your own wonderful human imagination. How would you see the world if you were now the man that you would like to be? See it as you would if you had it. Catch the mood, and the mood will create that objective hope, if that is your hope. What would the feeling be like if you are now the person you want to be? You cannot separate I am from yourself. That's your essential being. You want to be a successful doctor, successful lawyer, I don't care what it is. You want to be? If I wanted something in this world, and who doesn't, I would formulate an act which would imply that I have it. And then in my imagination, I would simply, having performed that act, I would yield completely to this being within me to execute it. I would fall off into sleep, convinced that he heard me, that he saw my act in faith. We must come to God believing that God exists. For unless we believe that he exists, we cannot please him. So who would draw near to God must believe that he exists. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. And though I gave all that I have, gave it away, though I gave my body to be burned, and had not faith, I cannot please him. I cannot please him without faith. Because I am not on the surface level of my being, I am not going to do it. I simply yield completely to him, having acted. It's an act of self-commission. I perform the act. What act? I act as though I had what I sought. I act as though I heard that you have what you asked of me. I perform an act, and then I yield completely to that depth of my own being, who is God, and allow him from that depth to externalize it for me. As he tells us in the 55th chapter of Isaiah, your ways are not my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. So do not ask how it's going to be done. All I have to do is to completely yield to this being within me. For he has ways and means I, on this level of my being, know not of. I rise then under compulsion. And under this compulsion I go through a series of events which will lead up to the fulfillment of that to which I yield. I assume that it's done, and then I commune with myself and gave thanks within me that it is done. And it works in every way. The self, the depth of my own being is God. That sense of awareness, that is God. And I said, God, you sent this hunger upon me, a hunger for an experience of you. Give me, as said in the 86th Psalm, show me a sign of your favor. Just a sign of your favor. For without faith, it is impossible to please him. And if he makes all things, good, bad, and indifferent, and makes it through faith, find out the mystery of faith. Now, faith does not give reality to the unseen things. It is loyalty to the unseen reality. For all things exist. If you only saw it, everything in eternity exists. Man exists. Man is part of the eternal structure of the universe. He doesn't grow out of a worm, as our evolutionists say. Evolution is confined to the affairs of man, not to the creation of God. Yes, I take a hoe, and then I turn from a hoe, digging a little land with a hoe, into a tractor. Then I will find something far better than the tractor. So I will swim across the ocean, or rather swim across a little river. And then I'll find a raft that will take me. Then I'll find a little boat that will take me. Then I'll put a sail on it, and that'll do better. Then I will take something more than the sail, and I'll find something with steam. Then I'll go beyond the steam, and I'll find nuclear energy. And then this is simply evolution in the affairs of man. So instead of walking across the continent, I now fly across the continent. That's evolution in the affairs of man. But there is no evolution in the creation of God. It still remains a theory, a marvelous theory, and we're all under compulsion to study it and, all right, to pass our lessons in evolution, as though the thing was proven. There isn't one single bit of evidence in the world to support the theory, the hypothesis of evolution. Not one. Yet it's compulsory in all the universities of the world as though it had been proven. In the affairs of man, yes, but not in the creation of God. Man as he is, and all things as they are eternal parts of the structure of the universe. Eternity exists, and all things in eternity independent of creation, which was an act of mercy. So when God said, let us make man in our image, man existed. He didn't say, let us make something and call it man. Let us make man. Man existed in our image, and God became man. There's no way to make him in his image until God actually becomes man. So God became as we are, that we may be as he is. And he's not pretending that he's a man. He has to completely forget that he is God and lose all memory of his power that is God, and take upon himself the weaknesses and the limitations of man. And in this, he now is forming himself into his own likeness, which is God. He is raising within himself that which he became, redeeming everything in this world. That is the power that is God. Now, while we are here as man, you want to be, and you name it. You want to be successful in the world of Caesar, in dollars and cents, nothing wrong with it. You want to be a successful doctor, successful lawyer, I don't care what it is. You want to be? Well, then formulate in your mind's eye what it would be like if it were true. How would you see the world if you were now the man that you would like to be? See it in your mind's eye, and then yield yourself completely to the depth of your own being. How do I do that? Simply fall asleep in the assumption. I dare to assume that I am the man that at the moment reason denied, and then fall asleep in that assumption, leaving it completely to the depth of my own being to externalize it in my world. I will wake tomorrow morning under compulsion to do certain things which I had not formulated, I hadn't determined. I'll find I'll meet the right people. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. And it all adds up towards the externalization of my assumption. Just as in his case, he now has a sign of God's favor. The depth of his own being responded to his abandonment. It's a complete self-abandonment. It is, and I can't commit myself to what I do not love. I can't do it. So if my idea of God does not bring forth within me the sense of love, well, then I have the wrong God. If I know that he's infinite love, believe me, he is. But the day will come, you'll have the actual experience, and you will know that God is all love. I stood in his presence, and God is man. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail to meet the test. Now, you've just had the test, and you alone can judge whether you failed or not. For you heard the word Jesus Christ. You heard the word God. Now, if it conveyed the sense of an existent something outside of man, you failed the test. If when you hear the word God, or the word Jesus, or the word Christ, the word Lord, and the mind jumps to something outside of you, outside of man, you failed the test. Now we are told, by him all things were made, and without him was not anything made that was made. And that, I tell you, is your own wonderful human imagination. The only God is your own wonderful human imagination. The only name forever and forever that is his name is I am. So that is my name forever. That is who I am. And by this name I shall be known throughout all generations. There is no other name. You cannot separate I am from yourself. That's your essential being. And when you say I am, you are all imagination. You cannot stick imagination on the outside and point to it. So you do not observe it as you observe the fruit of imagining. You do not observe imagination as you do objects in space, because you are the reality that is called imagination. Now you can test it. What would the feeling be like if it were true that I am now the man that I would like to be? What would the feeling be like? Catch the mood. For the mood determines the fortunes of people rather than the fortunes determine the mood. Man puts it just the opposite. If I had $1 million, he said, oh, I would feel so good. Now, feel as you would if you had it. Catch the mood, and the mood will create that objective hope, if that is your hope. What would the feeling be like if you are now the person you want to be? Well, catch that mood, and wear that mood as you would a suit of clothes. And that mood will actually create an objective state that reflects that mood. So I tell you, I know from my own experience that these moods, you catch a mood, I could tell from the mood that possessed me through the day that I would meet a certain character, and I met that character. It may be someone I knew or some total stranger, but I could tell from the very mood that possessed me. I'm drawing into my world an affinity with that mood. You can catch a mood and create the world that is in harmony with the mood. Anyone can do it. In fact, you're doing it morning, noon, and night anyway. So when you turn to some external God, you are turning to a false God. There is no external God. Examine yourselves, said Paul, to see whether you are holding to your faith. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless indeed you fail to meet the test. You've just had the test. So if you think of some being on the outside, but I use the word Jesus Christ, you have the wrong Jesus Christ. For we are told by him all things were made, and without him was not anything made that is made. Look into the room. All this was once only imagined. The suits you wear, the dresses you wear, the hats you wear, everything here, the buildings, was once only conceived in the human imagination and then executed. And if all things were made by him, well, then I must come down to find out who he is. Well, I can't go beyond my own imagination. I know exactly what I imagined. I see the results. So I go back. All things made by him, yes, good, bad, and indifferent. He waits on me just as quickly and just as indifferently when the will in me is evil as when it is good. Is that in Scripture? You'll find it in Scripture. Read it in the book of Deuteronomy. I kill. I make alive. I wound. I heal. And none can deliver out of my hands. I am the Lord. Read it. Read that in the 32nd chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. There is no other God. I am the Lord your God, and besides me there is no other God. I am is that God. As we are told in the 46th Psalm, be still and know that I am God. A man will not believe it, and yet he has evidence morning, noon, and night that his own wonderful creative power, which is his own wonderful human imagination, is producing the phenomena of life.